Hi guys, welcome to Prelims 2025 Daily Current Affairs. Today is July 14th, and in today's newspaper, we have a total of about 23 topics for prelims. The first one is just this book called Riddles in Hinduism, and it was written by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The second point says that there were some off-roaders actually off-roading. Now, why this point is important is because off-roading as a term has become really in new. So UPSC can ask about this thing from the context of administration. So there were some off-roaders that were booked under the Disaster Management Act. So Disaster Management Act deals with off-roading. And this happened in Idukki, Nalamala Hills. So this is just from the angle of mapping. Nalamala Hills and Idukki are just close to each other. That's all. Then the third point deals with human-animal conflict. This was in the context of elephants and Kerala, and so this scheme. So there's some fund allocation, some work to be done to manage human-animal conflict, and the scheme was mentioned. So Manrega. The point it is important is because it can be asked. Manrega as a scheme can be used to deal with what all, right? So infrastructure development can be one option, then human animal conflict can be other option, like 4 or 5 things could be given. So Manrega scheme was mentioned in that context. Then there were certain terms also: beehive fencing, biofences. Now this was in the context of managing elephants. Chile was specifically mentioned in the context of biofences, but there could be other things also that could be used for making biofences. So this will require you to just Google beehive fencing, just Google biofences, and just see what all things can be used to make biofences and how beehive fences work. They certainly work for elephants, but do they work for other animals as well? So this is your assignment for today. This thing you'll have to Google. Then rainwater harvesting was mentioned in the newspaper. This was in the context of this particular term. So this term can be asked: injection borewell method. So this method basically is for recharging borewells, and the depth to which it can function is about 40 to 80 feet. Now this is important because usually when we think of rainwater harvesting, it's just very basic installation that is there, and a small tank will be there which will just collect water from the roof of houses or buildings. But this particular method, injection borewell, this is more professional, as in it can go up to 40 to 80 feet deep. So basically bore wells, if at all you have to take a guess to borrow in some exam, in some statement, if UPSC gives you depth also of maybe tube wells, bore wells, etc. So generally it is about, say, 100 feet, you can say. So it can be up to 100 feet. At 100 feet or 40 to 80 feet we can find water underground. This is the depth to which water can be expected, and these bore wells get recharged by this method. Then it also helps in preventing soil erosion, and it can even recharge when there are no rains. Even after the rainy season, this uh, method is helpful. Then you have this term, you must have heard of it in your preparation: inner line permit. This was in the context of some violence which had happened with some workers in Meghalaya. So this body was mentioned. We can get a dedicated question, probably a two-statement question about NHIDCL, what it does, what is the organization structure, and what kind of works, projects it can take up, etc. So those basic things. And about ILP, certainly a multi-statement question is expected. So it's a temporary permit. So you need to understand it's a temporary permit. Currently, this system is followed in Arunachal, Manipur, Mizoram, and Nagaland. So only four states have this ILP system as of now, and this violence happened in Meghalaya. So Meghalaya does not have ILP, and they wanted, the people who were I mean fighting with these workers, they wanted ILP in Meghalaya. Then Bengal, now this ILP is based on the Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation of 1873. The next topic is Gram Nyayalays. Now, this was in the news because the Supreme Court had sought a report on the status of Nyayalas from states and high courts. So this point is important because this means that Gram Nyayalas are not under the government; they are under the judiciary. So that's why it has been mentioned. It can be asked. Also, guys, whatever I'm telling you in these daily current affairs videos are from my assessment and conclusions of whatever is given in the newspaper. I don't really have the time to verify every information that I'm saying. So, in case you come across anything, any wrong information which I speak in these videos, please do message me and I will correct myself. Also, of course, with the evidence, you have to message me whatever is the correct version of what I have said incorrectly. So this Gram Nyayalays, they are meant for quick and affordable justice to rural India, right? Gram Nyayalay, they're not for urban India. Then we do have a dedicated act, Gram Nyayalay Act. About 16,000 Gram Nyayalays are needed in India, but only about 300 are functional as of now. So there's a massive difference between what is needed and what infrastructure do we have at present. Then again J&K. So J&K has been in news since 2 3 days now. So the J&K Assembly can make laws on all matters of the state list except police and public order, right? So Delhi Assembly also has got these kind of exceptions. J&K Assembly also has got these exceptions. So you just need to remember which exceptions are uh, for which state. So police and public order, J&K Assembly cannot make laws on. Also, they cannot make laws on the concurrent list items. Then the J&K Reorganization Act has very clearly defined the functions of the LG of J&K. Then you have crops. Some crops were mentioned in today's newspaper, mango and pineapple. So mango was in the context of Lucknow. So Lucknow or UP basically you can say produces the Shahri variety of mango. It produces many other varieties also, but the Shahri variety was mentioned in today's paper. So the Shahri variety you need to remember comes from UP and it was exported to the US after almost 150 years. So US is not a regular buyer of Indian mangoes, but some mangoes do make it to the US, especially this particular variety has gone to US after a long time. So UPSC can ask this information in different ways. Of course, it is not going to ask so deeply as in it will give you which after how many years or some name, but it can overall broadly it can structure, it can ask this information, and also it can ask where which state the cherry mangoes are produced, right? That kind of information. Similarly, come to point number 23, you have pineapple crop was mentioned. So this was in the context of Kamrup. So actually pineapples can be grown in any state of northeast India. They may be grown in other states also where you have humid tropical climate. Pineapple can be grown in plains as well as in elevated regions. But the newspaper today mentioned specifically that they can be grown in northeastern they're grown in northeastern states, especially Kamrup, Assam was mentioned specifically, right? Also, Q and Queen are varieties of pineapple, and these are the countries that are regularly importing pineapple from India. So you can see that USA or European Union or those big countries, Russia, etc., they are not in the list. So those are not our regular or big pineapple customers. Then you have airport. So this airport was mentioned, Navi Mumbai International Airport. It's an international airport. It's being built presently. So there's already one international airport in Mumbai, and we have a second one which is being built, international airport at Navi Mumbai. It will be operational from March next year. Then this summit was in news. World Audio Visual and Entertainment Summit. World Audio Visual and Entertainment Summit will be held soon in India. This will be the first summit of this kind. Like this, basically, this is the first summit that is going to happen soon, and it will be happening in Goa, along with the International Film Festival of India. So these two summits will be summit and festival basically will happen parallelly in Goa. Then there was news about Vibrant Villages program. So this is an initiative of Ministry of Home. It's for 136 villages along China border, and overall development of these villages will happen. So different everything basically, from telecommunication to roads to tourism, broadly everything is there in this program. So UPSC can give you a multi-statement question saying something like, with regards to the Vibrant Villages program, what all are the focus areas? One, two, three, four, five, right? Like that it can make, or different types of questions can be made, but the information you will need will be broadly this much only. Then, 12th point is about Chandipura virus. So it's a rare virus. It was found to infect children, and cases from Gujarat were reported recently, and it causes encephalitis, which is related to something with brain. So some, I think, inflammation or something happens in the brain. Then 13th point is about some fake pollution certificates. So this was in the context of CPCB. Right, I should tag it as let me mark it as environment bodies. Okay, so there is something known as extended producer responsibility EPR. A question, a PYQ has already appeared on EPR, and then you have these EPR certificates which are mandatory under this scheme, and these certificates have to be taken by any producer, any enterprise, any business which uses any kind of plastic packaging. Now, there is a legally mandated prescribed percentage that has to be achieved of recycling, and the targets change yearly, right? So for 2023-24, for example, 100% of the plastic which is used by these businesses will have to be collected and recycled. And so this plastic has to be collected and recycled. Or, so there's another option. Either the businesses can do this collecting and recycling themselves to meet the targets, or they can outsource this work to the other recyclers which are into this business, and they can buy certificates from them. So basically how it happens is like these recyclers, the rag pickers, etc., that you see, so they will go and give it to the recycling person, and that recycler will give a certificate to the business. So the businesses will come and buy the certificate from the recycler. They will not do this activity personally themselves, right? So, and one certificate is for 1 ton of material collected and recycled. Also, the certificates of these recyclers are considered legitimate only if the recycled plastic is sold or is of saleable variety, basically. So, if it can be resold in the market, only then that certificate will count. And because now this issue was in news of fake certificates because the quality of the recycled plastic was not saleable. So some inquiry happened, and so this whole nexus got busted. So that's why it was in news. The next point says that there is a collective responsibility. So in the EPR, in this scheme, basically, individual organizations will not have their specific targets, but there is collective responsibility. This is what was mentioned in the newspaper, and about 85% of the target was met. So it is the context of mentioning this collective responsibility was positive only. It's not that these targets are not being missed, but the problem is more of the fake certificates actually. Then you have plastic waste management rules also, and these rules give fine. They fine people for not following them. They are not jailing people. So UPSC can give now like these kind of statements which may say, according to plastic waste management rules, the people who are violating them can even be jailed, right? And not just fined. So things like these can be asked. So it's only the fines that was mentioned in today's newspaper. Then you have next is, okay, fake pollution we have done. Artificial intelligence. So recently a Canadian court accepted an emoji as proof of acceptance of a contract. So this was just in the context of this news was in the context of how advances in technology is going to impact rule of law, right? So now even emojis, like if you give a thumbs up to someone saying you something on WhatsApp, this will be counted as you accepting the contract. So this happened in Canada actually. Till now, emails were counted as a valid proof, valid evidence of these things, but now even emojis have started to be accepted. So Indian courts have not yet gone into that domain, but this is what is happening globally. So you just need to be aware of these updates. Then something related to pollination was mentioned. It was in the context of air pollution harming pollinators more than pests. So pollinators can be bees. These are the most important, but we also have other pollinators like moths, butterflies, etc. And they harm air pollution harm pollinators because pollinators communicate on the basis of scent. And when they have like these pollutants in the air, this communication gets hampered. Ozone is particularly harmful in this context. So you need to remember the biggest danger to pollination from air pollution is ozone. Then neutrino was mentioned. About neutrino, we've already got a question on ice cube, a dedicated multi-statement question. Now, this ice cube was not mentioned in today's paper, but I just added it because ice cube has been asked in a PYQ. So, what are neutrinos? These are very minute particles which are abundant in the cosmos. Atmospheric neutrinos were first found in 1965. So there's a difference between atmospheric and cosmic neutrinos. Atmospheric ones were found in 1965, and this was an international experiment that happened in Kolar goldfields, which comprised India, Japan, and Britain. And then Kolar goldfields closed, and then like we had our own like project for INO, etc. I'll just tell you that. But basically, Kolar goldfields are also important from the angle of discovering atmospheric neutrinos. And then cosmic neutrinos were discovered by a Japanese project in 1987. Then observatories are generally located underground to avoid disturbance. So there are a lot of different kinds of particles, radiation, etc. in the air. So in order to identify neutrinos, which are otherwise very difficult to identify, you need to get rid of all that atmospheric and cosmic disturbance. So that's why these observatories, neutrino observatories, are generally underground. Then you have this term that was mentioned, proton decay. We don't need to get into the meaning of proton decay right now, but you just remember this much, that it was in the context of identification of neutrinos. That's it. If you can watch some videos on YouTube, maybe a short video, 5-7 minutes, about neutrino detection, all these terms will get clarified. Then observatories. So different observatories are there. Kamioka is Super Kamio Kande Observatory. They are in Japan. Mount Ikeno also was mentioned in this context. INO, India-based Neutrino Observatory, or Indian Neutrino Observatory. It got approval in 2011. Was supposed to be located in Theni in Tamil Nadu, but then because of environmental and radioactivity concerns, it is now paused. Right, so no work is happening on it as of now. It's just in a controversy so far. Then you have IceCube, which is the world's largest neutrino observatory, and a dedicated question on it has already been asked. Then you have Nipah virus. This was in news. So fruit bats are its natural host. There is no approved vaccine globally. The mortality rate also, you just need to just broadly keep in mind, it's not amongst very high. Like it ranges from 40 to 75% mortality, because we just are going for mortality because there are these diseases which are regularly in news and they have their own different mortality rate. So UPSC may just say which disease has got higher mortality or more serious mortality, and which disease have lesser mortality. So you don't need to remember these numbers, but just comparative seriousness of the disease from mortality angle, you should know. Then two known strains of Nipah are there, Bangladesh and Malaysia. And there is also another virus very similar to Nipah, which is called Hendra virus, right? You need to remember this name, Hendra virus. Then human trials for monoclonal antibodies. Okay, you have to remember this term. NIPA is related to monoclonal antibodies. Human trial about these are about to happen in India. Some regulatory approvals are now underway, and these trials will like the organizations involved in these trials are CEPI. Now, this is a very famous organization. I've already given the full form here. Funding is given by CEPI for these trials. Then you have other US organization. One is an NGO and another is just some pharma company. You don't need to remember these names, but just note that it's not exclusively CEPI. CEPI is the funding partner, but then you have some other US bodies also, and only US bodies are there. Then again, terrorism in J&K, terrorist attacks are happening. So Chenab Valley, you have these cities. I've already given you names of these cities, but today it was mentioned in the context of which ones are in Chenab Valley, which ones are south or north, whatever, of Pir Panjal. So mapping angle. Once we get hold of current affairs, how to make these videos quickly, then I'll start with the mapping videos also, right? So all of these will be covered in our mapping course. So this thing you need to remember. Then Galwan clash also was mentioned in this context. Village defense, it should be defense. Village defense guards or committees, VDGs, they have been revived since 2022. So this, is very similar to Salva Judum, those special police officers in Bastar. So this is like that only. So village defense guards or village defense committees have been now revived since 2022 to deal with militancy. Also, there was this operation of the Indian Army called Operation Sarp Vinash, and this happened in 2003. Then critical minerals. There was a big article about critical minerals. So there are about 30 minerals which are identified by the government of India as critical. I've listed them here. Slowly we'll take up each of these and just add whatever relevant information it is there. So this will be some extra bit from my side. So we have the names. We'll start with the names first. So we have all the names here and some basic information which was there in today's newspaper. It was with regards to lithium. So lithium deposits have been found in J&K, Riasi district. Riasi, now it was in news in the context of terrorism also, right? So Riasi district, Riasi area. And then the problem with Riasi lithium is that it is found with clay, and we do not have globally, we do not have technology which can extract lithium that is found along with clay, right? So there's a problem. Extraction is a problem as of now. Then titanium, with regards to titanium ilmenite, we have already got a question recently. So India has got 11% of global ilmenite deposits, ilmenite ore, but still we are importing titanium dioxide, right? So some technological problem in extraction perhaps are there in titanium as well. Then you have so you have these 30 minerals, just collapse them. Okay, then International Energy Agency was also in news in the context of Global Critical Minerals Outlook report. You need to remember this report name and the body that produces this report. Then you have then I just basically collected all the data with regards to India separately also, and I put it in the minerals portion also. So India has got huge import dependency. 100% import dependency is there for lithium, cobalt, nickel. Now this list of course is not exhaustive. As we get more minerals with same features, we'll just keep adding to these notes. For now, this was what was mentioned in today's newspaper. So lithium, cobalt and nickel, we have 100% import dependency. For copper we have 95% import dependency, and mostly it is coming from China. Like China is the world's leading supplier of these minerals. Then regards to production, we have overseas production. So Khanij Bidesh India Limited has got which is a joint venture of Nalco, Hindustan Copper and Mineral Exploration Company, has recently got these I mean, what do you say, those areas in Argentina with regards to lithium. It will be regularly in news in future. It will also come. So we'll just keep adding the information here. Then you have India getting into global partnerships also. So India is a member of US-led Mineral Security Partnership. So for now, we only need this much information. Then You have Israel was mentioned in the context of Gaza War. Okay, so you have these cities. So basically, from mapping angle, Mawasi is a safe zone. Israel designated safe zone. Then you have Khan Yunis, Rafah. These are just cities in Gaza. Then uh, USA also was in news in the context of Resolve Tibet Act. So it may be given as a one statement question. Resolve Tibet Act recently was passed by which country, right? So the answer would be USA. Then you have Russia also was in news. Let's see. It was in the context of some Navy drills, Navy exercise with China. But more than that, what is important is the kind of relations Russia has with different important or in news countries of the world. So with China and North Korea, Russia has got very good relations and deep military and economic ties. So that's there. And pineapple we have already covered. So, guys, that will be all in today's newspaper video. Do let me know your feedback and suggestions for any improvement, and I'll try my best to implement. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.